Oops. Session 4, which it should be, your health and well-being. Okay, so I'm going to ask you a first question. I want you just to have a think about this as a carer, because some of you will have been caring for longer than others. Why do you need to take extra care of yourself whilst caring? Why do you need to take extra care of yourself whilst caring? Just have a think about that. Because often as carers, we don't. And often I would just ignore my own health, which caused me a lot of trouble when I shared my story. So if you've got anything that you might want to share in the chat, why do you need to look after yourself and make sure that you're okay? And then maybe Michael can read any out that start to come through.
Okay, thank you for starting to type these in. So Dawn says, to be able to have the strength to carry on, easier said than done though.
Absolutely.
Carolyn says, so we're strong enough to take care of others.
Yes.
I think that's Lynn says, carers often get ill themselves. Susie says, you can't pour from an empty cup.
Absolutely, great line. Thank you for that.
And Lynn says, if we go down, the whole house of cards comes down.
Absolutely.
Liz says, can't be a good carer without looking after ourselves. The emotional toll is very high.
Yes.
Tony says, so you're able to continue caring for your loved ones.
Absolutely. And there's a few more beside that. I know it's all about you're focusing on your loved one and making sure that it doesn't all fall to the ground, which is what happened to me, and others had to come and rescue me when I fell ill whilst caring, as of course, and others who I talk about in my story ended up long-term sick, carers themselves. So that was huge alarm bells for me. If you've not seen that session before, you know, you're very welcome to go back and watch it. But yes, you know, some carers have ended up with their own conditions, their own illnesses. It makes life so much harder, doesn't it? And it doesn't need to be that way, but it's very hard to find that balance. And of course, by leaving yourself last, you may struggle to cope, feeling drained and exhausted. And this is a really difficult way to live. And of course, as I said about what happened for me, if you fall ill, then others will have to come and rescue you and your loved one. And you know you don't want to be a burden on others. But not only that, not only in taking care of yourself will you feel better, you will be able to make decisions from a better state of mind. So you're not just kind of that knee-jerk reaction when somebody asks you to do something. You can think straight, you can think better because you're in that better way, health and well-being. So we need to ensure our own health. We are then more able to be there for our loved ones, and you're more likely to enjoy your life as well because you're also here for you. We all deserve great health and well-being, and so do you. Now, I'm going to ask you about the fight or flight response. Now, some of you probably have heard this. Give me a nod if you have heard of the fight or flight response. Okay, what is it? What is the fight or flight response? Well, I'm just going to take you into this beautiful garden of roses. I just want you to imagine it's a beautiful summer's day, taking a long, deep breath of fresh air. It's relaxing, the sun shining. Just visualize it. The birds are singing. You're all relaxed, you're feeling good. Then suddenly there's this huge dog comes out of nowhere, snarling and attacking. What do? It's danger for your body, and it's fight or flight. And that's what happens to your body when you go into that high stress, high beta brainwave. You go into this danger, and it's our built-in survival mechanism. And we're in that fight or flight response. But what is happening within the body? And I'm going to talk about the sympathetic nervous system. So there's a kind of triage from the brain as it comes down. And with the sympathetic nervous system, that clicks on when it's fight or flight. And with that, we become highly stressed in our body. Our sympathetic nervous system switches on, triggering a chemical response, releasing adrenaline and cortisol into the body, whether you are in danger or not. And if you're highly stressed, this system releases chemicals from the brain into the body. And if this is on a regular basis, like carers do, then you're going to be finding that you're going to be flooding your system with these chemicals and draining yourself of energy. Stress creates all sorts of havoc within the body, including reducing serotonin to relax you. And often we can feel low, even leading to depression. So that's the sympathetic nervous system when we click into that fight or flight response, which I think carers know about a bit too much. And then we're going to go into the sympathetic nervous system, parasympathetic nervous system. So this is the complete opposite that comes from the brain. And when you start to get more relaxed, so this is the opposite. It clicks in to restore, rejuvenate, and conserve your energy. Its primary concern is to relax and quieten your body. It's also known as the rest response system. And when you're relaxed, we are able to think and see things clearly, aren't we? But unfortunately for carers, our parasympathetic nervous system does not get enough rest and repair. But through things like breathing, meditation, and sometimes like relaxing, we can switch on to this parasympathetic nervous system, what we need, helping us to calm and relax. So things like practicing mindfulness, meditation, all sorts of ways to relax the body, allows your body to then start to rejuvenate and to repair. So the fight or flight response, although day to day you're not in imminent danger, but the stresses of modern life, especially with caring, can click in to this response and your body will go into this high alert. And it can become like the new normal for you. You may not feel like you are, but your body is switched into that feeling, that high anxiety. Maybe you've been feeling that. It's like having your foot on the brake and the accelerator at the same time, just like wearing yourself out. And this continuous chronic stress and being in that fear-driven mode can wreak havoc. Can wreak havoc on our health, causing adrenaline release, rapid heartbeat, maybe you've had some of that before, pale or flushed skin, trembling or panic attacks. It can leave us feeling run down and susceptible to colds. So that's the fight or flight response. And notice, if you'll find yourself clicking into that. And my question for you is, what do you do to rest, recoup, and to rejuvenate? What do you do? And do you notice at any time when you're feeling you're in that high stressed state, when you're feeling that sympathetic nervous system clicking in? I just wondered if you've got any comments in the chat for me on that. How do you feel? Do you feel this kind of stress all the time, or this underlying stress? I certainly did at times when I was caring for Neil, trying to be there for everybody, trying to make sure everything's okay, trying to control everything, which of course we can't. So yeah, it's a very difficult thing when you're dealing with caring.
Right, Sarah, yeah, comments coming in on the chat now. So Magda says she takes deep breaths to calm down. And Salima says, yes, I'm stressed 90% of the time. Celia says she walks in the countryside. Susie says she has a long walk with deep breathing, watches a good film with phone off. Excellent.
Excellent. I like that, phone off. I mean, I think a lot of us, the phone keeps pinging. I actually put mine usually on silence. I don't know about you guys, but often the phone is something else you have to keep thinking about and picking up. And I think you're right there, just either putting it on silent for a bit, just so that you have some space, just some time for you. It's really important. So yeah, noticing and feeling into the body. Thank you, Michael.
And Carolyn likes journaling. Michael likes a good walk. Julia says she takes regular meditation and autogenic training practice.
Excellent.
Not quite sure what that is. And they've helped her to reduce her adrenaline release, and they both really work. It's a bit interesting to hear that. Dawn says, I feel stressed most of the time. Vicky says, I program in a 20-minute yoga session every morning. Karen says, I don't feel I can ever relax. And Anna also likes country walks. Dawn said, this is her relaxing time, joining a session with you, Sarah. Yeah, and Liz says, I've been a carer for 8 years and I've lived in fight and flight mode. I've been doing some trauma healing work, and I'm finally, for the first time ever, starting to feel and understand my feelings, to be able to work out that I need to step out, have respite, and take a walk.
That sounds wonderful. Thank you for sharing that, everybody. And some of you are obviously feeling more stressed than others. Everybody is unique, and the person that you care for is unique. And some of us kind of a bit more of a break than others. So if you can, I mean, it's like you're thinking, oh my God, this is something else I've got to do, Sarah. But if you can just give you some allotted time, maybe first thing in the morning or a particular time of the day when you can have like 20 minutes or a half an hour break and think, right, I'm going to do something to really start to boost my well-being. Like some of you have been sharing about doing yoga, maybe counseling, maybe something else of that sort, like Tai Chi or Qigong. There's simple things on YouTube as well. If you even type those in, you can just have a little go of that. I've done that before, where I've done a bit of Tai Chi. I've just typed it in and gone, right, I'm going to have a go at this one. Try and shake it up a bit, do something a little bit different to help you to rest and restore. And then your body starts to get used to that as well. You kind of look forward to that every day. If you're able to just have that little bit of time out for you. And walking in nature, of course, is probably one of the best things, with deep breathing. Okay, so are you giving too much? And we're talking about caregivers burnout, which is what we talked about last week was going to come up. Now, caregivers burnout is a state actually from the US. This is where they recognize that there's this caregivers burnout, because if you have that empathy and you have, you know, all this, you know, sympathy for a loved one, you're really kind of feeling what they're going through as well. I certainly felt into how Neil was feeling. Very stressful. It's like we were going through his illness together. That's what makes it so very difficult whilst caring. But not only that, whilst I was there caring for Neil, my good friend Nadia from next door, she rang me one morning. She's a hairdresser and also a carer. She rang me and said, oh my God, Sarah, please come round immediately. One of my older ladies is passed out in the hairdressing chair. So I quickly shoved on my shoes, jumped over the small wall, ran in through the front door, and there was Pam. She had her hair in curlers and she was slumped in her chair. And she looked as pale as a sheet. And I said, oh my God, what's happened? She said, well, she's a carer as well. She said, but with her husband, she's really worried about him. He won't go to the doctors like he said he would. And she was so stressed that she was talking about it when she just went. She seemed to go unconscious. I put my hand onto her shoulder and I said to Pam, can you hear me? And she slightly nodded. So I knew she was still able to recognize and know what was going on. I said, can you take some long, deep breaths, get some air going into your lungs? And she did. And after a few minutes, she actually opened her eyes and she said, can you just lay me on the floor? I don't feel well. So me and Nadia, we got her onto the floor with some cushions and covers and made her comfortable. And I said, you know, have you got any pain anyway? Do we need to call an ambulance? Oh, no, don't do that. She said, I think I've had this before. I think it's a panic attack. And she said, one of the worries that she had that morning was with her husband. He'd found a lump on his arm. And when she started to talk about that, she threw up immediately. It was almost like she was worried sick, so worried about him that it was actually really impinging on her health as well. I'm going to get an ambulance, Pam. No, please don't do that. Laura's going to be so angry when she finds out. Now, I don't know who Laura was, but I'm not really bothered about Laura right now. Pam was of our concern. Anyway, finally, we did call an ambulance and we took Pam off to hospital, and she had a bit of a chest infection, but she was fine. But it was a panic attack, and we were watching one caregiver's burnout right there in front of us. But while she lay on the floor, she worried about everybody else, but she didn't once think about herself. And that is caregivers burnout. That's how it can really lead, when it just becomes so strong and you're in that long tunnel that you can't think of anything else but others. And symptoms can include, maybe you've felt some of these before, feeling powerless, anxiety and depression. Some of you I know have been feeling that, fatigued and feeling drained, angry and resentful. It's all part of the course, I feel personally, with at times when you're caring. It's very difficult. Having trouble sleeping, I'm going to come on to that in a bit. Finding it difficult to concentrate, maybe drinking, smoking or overeating, and other health problems. But the pressure can build up bit by bit and go unnoticed. And so, like I said before, you feel comfortably uncomfortable. So then if you're feeling that, it's like, right, what do I need to do to make myself feel better? Michael, has any other comments come up?
Yes, there are a few. So Julia says, caregiver burnout is not taken seriously enough by GPs. and needs to be acknowledged in the UK as a condition in its own right, as an occupational illness.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Julia. You're absolutely right.
I mean, just going back to the previous discussion on what carers can do to help with their well-being, Vicky Jane says, to be honest, even when I am doing my yoga, I'm still available to my partner, so there is still underlying stresses.
Yeah, it's very difficult, isn't it? When you're under that same roof, you're always at their beck and call. I mean, it's just part of the course, isn't it, of caring, unfortunately.
And thanks, Julia, for explaining what autogenic training is. So Julie said it's a form of self-hypnosis which can be learnt from an accredited AT practitioner. Very
good. Thank you for that. You're brilliant. Maybe I'd Google it and have a look, read a bit more about it as well, because there's all these wonderful things that can help, even within a few moments, to start to calm us and help regulate the body. So how can we avoid caregivers burnout? And I know some of you are doing certain things like the yoga, you say, and the hypnosis, which are great. Well, as I said at the beginning of these sessions, awareness, checking in with yourself regularly. Often we just don't bother. We're so busy with everything else that we just don't check in with ourselves, or we don't really want to go there, but it's important we do. And of course, journaling came up already today as well. Thank you. One of you said that. So journaling is really, really great for checking in with yourself, jotting down how you're feeling. And open up to others, make them aware. Sometimes we kind of put on that brave face, don't we? Want to make it look like we're coping when we don't really feel that good, and we feel just like we're existing for another. Just share how you're really feeling. Let them really know. And confide in the right people. I've made the mistake by confiding in the wrong people in the past, and they come out with flippant comments and thought, yeah, I don't think I'm going to go there. I won't do that again. But I then knew of my voices of reason, as I call them. Go to those people who have love and compassion for you, have your best interest at heart, and check in with them. And take regular breaks. Obviously, all of you are different. It depends on when you can take some kind of break. But do look at doing that every single day, because you need to fill yourself up as well. And lift your mood. You know, we can all feel a bit anxiety, a bit low. It's just whatever you can do. And even sometimes I've compiled a list of going, well, I could watch that comedy, I could do this, you know, all these different things. So that when you're not feeling in the best state of mind, you can go to your list and go, right, I'm going to do that one. Because sometimes when you're not feeling so good, you won't think of those things. Well, I certainly didn't. But if you have the list ready and maybe even start to jot them down today, you can just go to that little post-it note stuck on the fridge and go, right, I'm going to do that one. I'm going to do that today because I want to make myself feel better. Exercise, you don't have to do star jumps unless you really want to, but yoga, which was mentioned, walking in nature, long, deep breaths, we're going to come on to that in a moment, but all those kind of things, just something maybe easy, relaxing, just makes you feel good, gets that body moving. Deep breathing, and scream. I've screamed. I know of other carers have screamed. Just shut the windows probably if you want to scream, but sometimes you just really want to let it out. It's a good thing to do. I've screamed. Maybe punch a pillow from that pure frustration, because I know exactly what you're going through. It drove me insane, and I screamed and broke a few things during those years as well. And ask for help. You know, no man is an island. Nobody can just keep doing this solely on their own. So do what I did in the end, ask for help, put the feelers out, ask your GP, local carer centre, district nurses, other carers, as well as family. Just keep putting the feelers out and saying, I don't think I'm coping anymore, if that's how you're feeling. Don't suffer in silence. And one of the quickest ways of becoming exhausted is by suppressing your feelings. That's Bill Vaughan. Is there any more comments there?
Yes, there are, Sarah. So there's, in relation to caregivers burnout, Kim says, yes, I got my son better and I just crashed. I have now got ME and CFS. I begged for help and no one listened. I still can't rest. I know what I'm supposed to do, but I can't switch off.
That's really hard, Kim. I'm so sorry to hear that. You need to keep pursuing it. I know it's like you think, oh, something else I've got to do. But give yourself a break, you know, be really kind to yourself. Imagine your best friend speaking to you right now. What would they say to you? keep chatting to, that we can really be hard on ourselves, as I was as well, but really tap into yourself, show yourself love and compassion, and keep asking yourself, what do I need to do to get out of this to make myself feel better?
And Sarah, Liz says, sometimes finding the right people can be hard.
Yeah.
Carers need a counsellor to help them feel heard and to work through feelings. So that kind of relates to the previous session where you talked about taps and drains, didn't you? And finding the right people to talk to.
Absolutely, yes. And the voice of, I didn't put it in that one, but voice of reason is really good. So, you might have a couple of people, just a couple of people or one person that you can go to and be honest. And it might be a fellow carer, even, meeting up or, sharing the experience with somebody here today, just coming into contact with somebody at your local carer centre and just checking in with each other. It's a very powerful thing to do, kind of mirroring and looking after yourself. And if anybody here who hasn't had counselling, it can still seem taboo. I remember family kind of being a bit judgmental. Counselling. Well, I've had counselling and actually found it really, really beneficial. Really good. So if you do get offered it, or just ask at your carer centre, or sometimes your GP, it gets offered for free. Do ask for it and just try it out. See if it works for you. Because if you get somebody good, it's extremely beneficial.
And a couple more comments, Sarah. So Anna says that having a list of what gives you joy really does help to give you the boost you deserve when you need it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Anna.
And Julia says, I know from personal experience that it's possible to reverse the effects of caregiver burnout, but it's important to get support on all fronts: healthcare, social services support through carer direct payments, to employ carer support, getting in touch with local carer support groups, mental health support, self-care, exercise, nutrition, reorganizing priorities and planning breaks in your diary.
Wonderful. That is a huge list there. Thank you for sharing that. That's absolutely amazing. Yeah, it is. There's a lot of ways. I mean, when I fell ill and I'd been ill for months, it took a while for me to actually come back to homeostasis, to be back to normal. Just a couple of hot stone massages or whatever, we're not going to sort this out. I'd been ill for months, for many of us are. We don't really realise that. So we kind of find ourselves teetering on the edge. So do ask for help. Keep pushing the feelers out. Don't just go, oh, well, this is it. It's not it at all. There's great work being done out there by local charities as well as national charities and by social services, etc. So keep asking. Good things are coming up all the time, and give yourself that break, give yourself that time, and don't feel guilty in having a break either. You need time out so that you can keep going and being there for your loved one, but then actually starting to enjoy life again as well, and having a better state of mind and a better health and feeling better for it.
And Sarah, it was another carer a little earlier mentioned ME, and
yes.
Vicky Jane says 37 years of being a carer has contributed to a recent diagnosis of functional neurological disorder, which, like ME, can be brought on by stress or trauma.
Yes. Yes, it is that kind of caregiver's burnout. It's that constant stress on the body and on the mind. It does take its toll, especially if you've been caring for years. It really does. It's such a hard one when you're still caring. So my heart goes out to you going through that. And I know there'll be a number of you with healthcare conditions yourself, but please do, keep going to your GP, pushing it out to your carer centre, etc. I can't express. I mean, I ended up ringing the local hospice. That's when I asked for help. I said, I don't know what to do anymore. I've given up all these things. I'm existing for another, and now I'm getting worse. And she'd been expecting that call. So do please think to yourself, even after here, who else can I turn to? Who else can I call? What do I need to do? Keep asking that question, because you just never know. You'll pick up the phone, make one phone call, and everything may change. So as it did for me, which it did when I rang that hospice. So thank you for sharing. Any more, Michael?
Yes, we're getting lots of comments. Thank you for all these. So just on the issue of who to talk to. So Carolyn says, 2 of my friends also care for loved ones and we're supportive to each other. Though I did make the mistake of confiding in the wrong person She didn't understand, and it was frustrating.
Yeah.
And then Salima says, counselling is great, but free counselling is very time limited, so is not a long-term solution.
No, it's not. And like I say, finding somebody who's like a fellow soul, like my neighbour Nadia, we chat every Sunday evening, have a cuppa and go, how have I been feeling this week? If you can find a fellow carer, I'm still friends with carers that I've known from years ago now. So I still every now and again catch up with them and see how they're doing. They're still, one of them still caring. And, you know, it's just having a deeper level of understanding, isn't it, that we know what we're going through, because not everybody does, because they've just not been through what you're going through. They just don't have that deeper level of understanding. So do, you know, if there's other carer kind of chats, meetups, even locally, so you can see each other face to face, it's a really good thing to do, because those people, like I say, I'm still in touch with years later. You do form this wonderful friendship and this kind of like deeper level of understanding together.
And Sarah, just a positive comment about counselling from Dawn.
Thank you, Dawn.
Who says, I had counselling when my mum was ill with cancer. It definitely helped, juggling this, 2 adult sons with a genetic disorder, working full time and looking after a home. Wish I could get some more.
Wow, that's quite a lot to juggle. Wow. Yeah, your time's not your own, is it? You're trying to be there for everybody. And it's very hard to switch off because there's always something else to do. But we do need to create that boundaries, you know what, you know, there's only so much you can do for everybody else, but you come into the mix. Don't leave yourself off the list or last on the list like I did. Bring yourself higher up and say, right, you know, now it's time for me. And it's not a deal breaker. You've got to do it here and now, you know, because you don't want to end up with feeling worse, feeling, you know, like some of you are dealing with other health conditions, which is dreadful. And you can't even think straight once you start to go into this cycle. So do push back, please, and find that space for yourself. Now, I'm just going to share with you something about telomeres, and great research that came from the States not that long ago, actually. So Elizabeth Blackburn, the Nobel Prize winner, and her team were looking at telomeres. And telomeres are actually that, you can see that green picture in the background here. Telomeres are at the end of your DNA, and they're like the glue at the end of a shoestring. They stop your DNA from unwinding at the bottom. Now, when your telomeres when you're first born, your telomeres are a nice long length, but as you go through life, your telomeres start to shorten, and due to stress as well, they can shorten even further. Now, Elizabeth and her team took a group of caregivers, as they're called in the States. Carers are called caregivers over there, and they took caregivers which were mothers caring for very sick, chronically ill children, very stressful. And they decided to measure the length of their telomeres and to see how they were doing. And their shock and surprise was that for the majority of these mothers, their telomere lengths had shortened quite drastically for up to probably about 8 years, you know, mostly a best part of 10 years, which is quite significant and quite shocking. So their longevity had been shortened from that pure stress of caregiving. But during this research, there was hope, because some of these mothers, although they were caring for children who were very sick, their telomeres were still a nice long length. And so Elizabeth decided to ask these ladies, give them an interview and say, what are you doing differently to make yourself and your body healthier? And they said, you know what? Yes, I'm caring. I'm doing what I can for my loved one, but I do know that I need to be there for me. I have to make sure I have time for myself and to look after my health and well-being. And in doing that, not only did they look after their own health, keep going, but they also looked after their telomere length and their longevity. So it's quite a powerful research and study, which I find fascinating. It's wonderful that they did it on caregivers, so we can see what that impact can be on us if we're not looking after ourselves. So looking after your health and stress levels will help you also to look after your telomere lengths. And carers, this is another study during that time, carers looking after loved ones with dementia, meditating for only 12 minutes a day for 2 months, lengthened their telomeres. So there's still hope, even if your telomeres have shortened. If you start to put into practice 12 minutes a day, that's not very long, is it? Let's be honest. I think all of us have got 12 minutes. So just doing that one thing, just saying that commitment for yourself, it's really powerful to look after your health and your telomere lengths. I'm going to come on to meditation. And some of you may have meditated, some not. Not the easiest thing to do, I know, and at first I had a lot of trouble with it. And so I'm just going to talk about the technique, because you don't need to sit cross-legged up in the Himalayas. Some people like to do that, I know, but it's very simple when it comes to meditation. It's not something completely mystical. And you just have to sit with your back straight in a comfortable chair. I actually sit up in bed first thing in the morning with 2 pillows behind my back and my dressing gown on. And that's what I do. Get yourself nice and comfortable. So your body's comfortable, so it seems like it's asleep. And then your mind is awake. And then you can listen to guided meditations. Many are free on YouTube. Just go Google those and have a look. And there's apps, some of you will already know this, I know. There's apps on the phone like Calm, which are for meditation and sleep. Try some things out, shake it up a little bit. And it's a funny word, but solfeggio frequencies, free on YouTube. I use one of these for a Mind, Body, Spirit group for our neuro charity. And it's a lovely one where they kind of got these brain waves, these beautiful sounds of this kind of calming music that you can listen to and just get yourself into a very tranquil state. To start for a few minutes a day, just maybe trying it and building up. I do it first thing in the morning. I think about my mum. She was not into meditation at all, but she went through a lot of stress during COVID and was very poorly. She ended up getting a little Dr. Joe Dispenza meditation that I gave her, 20 minutes, that she does at night just before she goes to sleep. She's fine. She sleeps soundly because she wasn't getting sleep. She was very stressed, but it actually really made her feel better. So you can maybe do a meditation, a short one, just for 10 minutes before you go to sleep, but really just gets your brain waves into a really nice tranquil place before you start to doze. And meditation helps to reduce anxiety, and it also calms the mind and the body. It lowers blood pressure. It does a lot of things actually within the blood. It reduces cortisol, lowers inflammation, and improves sleep. It also helps to improve digestion, and it gives you greater focus and clarity. And it makes us more creative. And actually, it even helps us to feel happier and more connected when you do that. It's really powerful. It's a really good thing to do. I'm going to come out of here, and I'm actually going to just take you guys for a body scan, just for a couple of moments. I'm going to stop share before I ask you some more questions. So I am just going to take you just for a few minutes, if you want to get yourselves comfortable with your back straight, and just close your eyes. And once you've got your eyes closed and your hands softly in your lap, just want to take you in, and just notice how you're feeling now. And then I want you to see how you feel afterwards. So with your eyes closed, I want you to take a nice long, deep breath in all the way to the top. Because we often shallow breathe, but it's good to take a deep breath, and then a very slow breath out. Slow, slow, slow breath out. All the way. Just let your lungs empty. Take a long, deep breath in again, all the way to the top. Slow breath out. Good. And then we're going to take one more. Long, deep breath all the way to the top. Really expand those lungs. Really good for the body. Slow breath out. This is bringing your parasympathetic nervous system into play. Just feel into your body right here. I just want you to imagine a golden beam of energy from above, just coming through your crown chakra, through your head, top of your head, and into your head, into your face. Just allow that golden energy to fill your head, allowing your eyes to soften, your facial muscles, your jaw to relax. And then come down and feel into your neck. Just allow your neck maybe to just elongate slightly, allowing that any tension to release. Feel into your throat, maybe swallow, relaxing as that golden energy travels into your shoulders. Just imagine your shoulders really heavy, just allow them to drop away. Sometimes we hold on to tension, we don't even realize we're doing it. So just allow those shoulders to drop and relax. Feeling into your arms, your elbows, your forearms, and feel into your hands, resting and relaxing. Down into your fingertips. And then just feel into your shoulder blades. Resting and feeling from the top of the back, coming down your spine, slowly to the middle of your back, into your lower back, and into your kidneys, still and relaxed. And just come into your heart center, really feel into your heart. Love for yourself, kindness and compassion to look after you. Coming down into your solar plexus, just below your ribcage. And into your belly, just allow it to soften. As you breathe in, allow it to just expand out and come back in as you breathe out. Just feel the weight of your body on your chair as we come into your thighs, soft and relaxed. Your knees, your shins, your calf muscles, still and resting. And down, down into your ankles, your heels, tops of your feet, arches of your feet, all the way down into your toes. Just rest here for the moment. Feel the energy in your body. Just feel if there's any tension spots, just breathe into those. Just allow them to relax and just let go. Feel safe here in this moment together. Just come into your heart center. Feel into your heart. You just want to bring your hands onto your heart center. Give yourself that love and kindness that you give others every day. Know to give it to yourself because you are important. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes and come back. Lovely. Don't know about you, but I feel a little bit different from when I started. So I hope you feel a little more rested. Just checking in with yourself and doing that, just that quiet moment, just for a minute or two. Ah, thank you for that, Martine. I do fully recommend Gaia House. I've been to Gaia House, been very lucky. That's where I went on my silent retreat. It's quite a good price as well because it's quite cheap and you just pay a Dharma if you can't afford very much, which I know a lot of us can't. I'm just looking at yours, Martine, thank you. Just a thought, some people store negative experiences of the term meditation due to their own fear or trying from their personal experiences. Folk often regard this as very regimented practice with many rules. That is why I refer it to stillness. Thank you, because it is. I mean, yes, meditation, people seem to think it's kind of religious or something. It's none of that. But just that coming to stillness, I do love that. Thank you for sharing. Although so many words could apply equally. Quietness, breathing practice. Yeah, thank you for that. Salima, thank you. I feel more relaxed. Good. And, you know, just finding a lovely bit of solfeggio music. Have a look on YouTube. Find some things. Just being in the moment. Thank you, Anna. Yeah, just being in the moment, relaxing into your body, tuning into yourself. Really powerful. Often that's when we get the great ideas come up as well of things that we need to do to help ourselves. Right, I'm going to go back. Okay, so lengthening your telomeres. Now you know that you have the power to impact your own telomeres. How would you feel if you knew they were shorter due to caring? How would you feel? Maybe some of you want to pop a chat in there. Michael, if you want to read them out, that would be great. Thank you.
Well, lots of people saying they're feeling relaxed after the meditation.
Brilliant. I'm very pleased. Glad that you're feeling better. Thank you.
And then just in response, sorry, could you just repeat the question you asked?
Of course I can. Now you know that you have the power to impact your own telomeres. How would you feel if you knew that these were shorter due to caring?
Well, Liz says, yeah, she'd be angry, upset, worried, and Martin said he was concerned earlier about impacts on his long-term health. Laura said she'd be sad. Caroline, I will panic. Susie, horrified.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But we can do something about it. It doesn't mean that's it, which is wonderful. Like I say, it was just that 12 minutes of meditation or coming to stillness every day. Or maybe noticing when you feel like, okay, I need to have a break here, and just taking yourself off and closing a door for a moment while you just, which I've done in the past. I've gone and hidden the bedroom a couple of times when I've gone through a very stressful time, go, right, I'm just going to disappear for a few moments. We need to do that. We need to know where we can push back. And what could you do differently or put in place to help extend your longevity? And you don't maybe even have to answer that today, but just have those thoughts in mind. Being long term, because many of you here are long-term carers. Think to yourself, well, what do I need to do a bit more of? What do I need to do a little bit less of? We can be in that subconscious mode of just keep being and doing all the time, but we don't really question it. So sometimes somebody else, another family member, oh, can you do this? Can you do that? Or you automatically say yes, when actually, it deep in your heart that you need to push back and say, well, actually, the answer is no. So know where to push back. So, ask yourself, what could I do differently or put in place to help extend my longevity and improve my health and well-being?
And Sarah, Lynn says, I feel stressed about being stressed and how it's impacting my health. But in response to your question there about what would you do, what would you put in place to help extend your longevity? Julia says, I'd make radical changes immediately.
Yep.
Selima says, I know it's impacting my health and suppose I can't think about it as I only live in the present, not the future.
Yes. I think when you say feeling stressed, that's an interesting one, because yes, we can feel stressed, feeling stressed. Oh no, and I've got this to deal with, and I feel stressed already. It is about coming into that stillness, going for a walk or whatever, and just taking long, deep breaths and just going, I accept where I am now. And acceptance was a key one for me. When I went to Gaia House, that was the word that I needed. It was acceptance, just accepting. My husband had brain cancer. I have to accept that. And, he had limited time. I had to accept that, because if you push up, what you resist persists, as I've heard that quote before, it actually makes us feel more stressed. So you need to almost let go and just accept and say, yes, okay, I'm stressed at the moment. I'm just going to come into that and just be aware of that instead of pushing up against it. Because when you accept it, it actually kind of starts to alleviate it. Actually, it starts to allow that to relax. So just notice how you're feeling and how you can deal with it slightly differently.
And Sarah, a few of the things that carers are saying they do. So Celia works hard at having a really good diet.
Good.
Carolyn says finding a purpose and having an ambition, this could help. Anna says focusing on a treat each day.
Oh, nice. Chocolate biscuit for me.
And yeah, and Martin says, sorry, Martin, I won't read the whole post, but Martin says altering the way I think and react at the time. That's
really good. You see, that's very powerful. And I think that was one that I gauged when I realized that I can't control everything. I can't do everything for everybody. There is a cutoff point where there's only so much that you can do. Accept, that you're here in the moment. Say, right, I'm just going to take 10 minutes here and just go for a break and a walk or whatever it is, and just take that time for you and just be in that moment. Nobody knows what's around the corner. Nobody knows what's next week, next month, next year. Nobody knows. None of us do. So it's just accepting in this moment, just saying, well, I feel okay right now. And that's all that matters.
Yeah.
That's all that matters.
And Vicky Jane, and again, in kind of a bit in relation to the your third session, says, I guess it all comes down to agreeing boundaries with our partners. Yeah. Those we care for. Yes, yes, finding those boundaries. Often, I remember with Neil, there were times when he could have easily, I say easily, but with a jaunty gait, with his walking, he could make a cup of tea and do more for himself. But he didn't need to, because he had me doing everything, you know. So, you know, we get into that pattern of behavior. So recognize where you can push back at times. You don't need to be all to everybody. Just say, do you mind if I don't do that today? I know you expect it, but I feel a bit worn out and I'd like to just shake it up, do something a little bit different. There's all sorts of ways, because everybody here is quite individual. So what's going on with the dynamics of family, etc. as well. But it is about vocalizing, opening up to others and to yourself, you know, really checking in, doing that journaling is such a good thing to do. Just on the boundaries, though, Kathy says, I agree things with my husband, then he just does what he wants. Don't know how else to deal with it. Yeah, I know. It's you can but try, Kathy. And then I know that some of you already mentioned this. What do you do to enjoy that helps to relax you? And I know some of you have already come out with some of those lists, but if there's anything new that you've got, anything like the yoga, qigong, being in that stillness, that breath, checking out those solfeggios, maybe just saying to yourself, right after today, I'm going to have a little look and try and do something a little bit different. Always really good to try something out. Let me know if there's any more comments there, Michael. Sure. So Celia says, beware against learned helplessness of the person you care for. Necessary with her looking after a 27-year-old young man. Yeah. I guess it's that pattern of behavior, isn't it? You know, you kind of do it because it's quicker if you do it, isn't it? And it's kind of easier, but in the long run, it's draining, it's tiring, and sometimes it can also disempower the person that you're caring for. You know, I'd be busy doing stuff for Neil when actually he could have done it for himself. So maybe sometimes it maybe made him feel a bit helpless and a bit useless because I just took over as the interfering wife, as I would call myself. But it's just something that we come into automatically sometimes. We don't even realize we're doing it. So it's just even like I say, at the end of the day, just kind of going back over the day, going, what went well, what didn't, what did I do when I didn't really need to do that? Or was I worrying about something which was been really draining me when I didn't really need to do that? And like I say, what you can do is put an elastic band around your wrist, as I've done even this week, ping it. If you notice yourself of this certain loop of behavior, of thoughts, just ping it when you catch yourself, because the more aware we become, the more we can put those things to bed and go, no, I'm not going to be doing that anymore. I need to make sure, you know, I need to focus on the good stuff, the things that I want to do to gee myself up and make myself feel better. And Sarah, there's a couple of responses to your question on what you enjoy doing that helps to relax you. So Julia says, reading an engaging novel for a bit of healthy escapism. Lovely. Lynn says, singing and listening to uplifting music. Nice. And then Anne says, I've been trying to identify short boosters, such as listening to music while washing up, a few Tai Chi moves while the kettle boils, building these into my day. Good. That's really good. And it just shakes it up. Sometimes you go and do something and then suddenly you find yourself doing it every morning for 5 years or something. You know, you don't realize where it will lead to. You know, I've tried all sorts of things like I say, silent retreats and things. It's a real eye-opener when you kind of start to explore the health and well-being things and what we can do for ourselves. There's so much out there. And like I say, with YouTube, etc. on Google, there's a lot of things that are for free, which is absolutely wonderful. Yes, and Salima says, I like music too, and it's something I can do with my mum as well. So I suppose some of those relaxing activities you can do with the person you're looking after.
That's a great one, because I did have a long playlist for Neil, and I put it on in the afternoon when he got back up in bed, which is really lovely. Some of the old music that he liked, and it's just something nice to have in the background, isn't it? You don't have to concentrate on it, but it just picks you up. It's some good pieces of music. Music is so powerful.
Mm. And then Kathy says listening to podcasts with the headphones on so as not to be disturbed.
Love that. And if you have got any podcasts that you guys listen to, do pop them into the chat. We could always share those, because I listen to podcasts as well. There's so many great, of course they're free. It's absolutely brilliant. Lots of great information. I've been on a few as well with certain friends and people I know, which has been really wonderful. Sharing experiences and sharing that great information. And, you know, all sorts of podcasts are not just about health and well-being, is it? There's some things that are just funny, entertaining, depends on what you enjoy. But if you've got any that you want, I know there's Dr. Rangan Chatterjee, I think that's how I say it. He's got a good podcast that covers all sorts of things on health and well-being. He's really good. He's worth checking out. And if you've got any others, please do share. So obviously for carers, getting your 40 winks. I mean, for me at times, I certainly struggled because Neil, he was downstairs in a hospital bed, and we had a baby monitor. So I was upstairs and I had always one ear open through the night. So you can only imagine what that does on the body for years. And he would sometimes have these huge choking fits, and I was downstairs in a flash, a horrible kind of, suddenly you're up with a jolt and throwing yourself down those stairs. And when I found that I didn't get enough sleep, I could feel my heart racing. I don't know how you guys are, but I feel my heart racing. I don't feel quite so good. I kind of feel on edge. And then I'd find myself dropping things or bumping into things because I wasn't quite with it when I wasn't getting enough sleep. So it's so incredibly important, but it's not always easy. So a lack of sleep also suppresses your immunity. So that's why it's important to get that sleep. But of course, you know, feel stress as you're stressed because you're feeling stressed, as that's what came up before. So of course we can feel stressed because we're not getting to sleep, which is a horrible, horrible feeling. So there are certain things that you can do to ensure good quality sleep. So not only does it help to boost your mental and physical health, when you do get those 40 winks, it looks at boost your memory, your mood, even your weight, your eating habits. I know that when I've been really tired, I want to grab for a lot more chocolate and biscuits than I normally do. It's a really weird sensation. Most of us need at least about 8 hours to sleep and function properly the next day, but everybody's just a little bit different. You'll get to know what your kind of length of time is good for you. And to improve your quality of sleep, ensure that your bedroom is comfortable, and maybe try having the window open. I know it's starting to get a bit cooler, but a bit of fresh air is really good to oxygenate the room. And then leave your TV or computer downstairs or off. Otherwise you've got your mind chatting, or you've got your phone pinging, trying to put that on silent. I put my phone on airplane mode of all things, because people sometimes text in the middle of the night. It's nuts, isn't it? And that just kind of disturbed your sleep. Make sure your bedroom is dark if you can. Blackout curtains are good. I use an eye mask. This helps also when it's really jet black out there. It boosts your melatonin levels, which is what you need for good quality sleep. And then look at maybe cutting down on caffeine after 4 p.m. as this increases adrenaline. And I know as carers, we have a lot going on and a lot of thoughts happening. So keep a notepad by the bed and jot down anything that comes up. Then you don't have to try and remember. And so I do that as well. Sometimes I used to just throw a pair of socks into the corner of the room going, yes, there's something I need to make sure of. So otherwise you have to keep thinking, oh yeah, I mustn't forget that. I mustn't forget that. Who's going to get to sleep with that going around in your mind? So yeah, just have that notepad by your bed and go, oh yeah, I forgot about that. And then just quickly jot it down, or even on your phone, maybe onto your notes, so that you don't have to try and remember everything, so you can get good quality sleep. And everything you do, you'll do better with a good night's sleep. And that's from the author Arianna Huffington. And I see there's a few more comments there, Michael.
Yes, we do. We have Julia suggesting preparing a simple and tasty meal that you can enjoy with your loved one is a relaxing thing to do.
That's lovely. Yes. Nice.
Celia says a whole session on sleep would help, which, yes, we are planning that. We do also have a previous session on our website, one of the recordings on a previous session we had on sleep. I realise it is 5 o'clock, so a few of you having to leave the session now. So thanks. If you have to leave now, that's absolutely fine. Absolutely. And yes, we will share the recording on our website.